Good morning, this is Kris Shoemaker, also known as Yehudah ben Shomeyr, and you're listening to Coffee with Kris, the time of the day where we share a cup of coffee and share a bit of the Word of God. Thank you so much for joining me on this Thursday morning for a hot cup of coffee and a hot cup of the Word of God. The Torah portion of Vayichi is where we're at, and today's Sidra is Genesis chapter 49, verses 19 through 26, which is pretty much wrapping up the blessings over the 12 tribes by their father Jacob. But I want to focus in on Joseph's blessing. Now, in verse 26, there at the end, it says, let's just read the whole verse. Verse 26, the blessings of your father are more powerful than the blessings of my parents, extending to the farthest of the everlasting hills. They will be on the head of Joseph. So Joseph is being doubly blessed. They will be on the head of Joseph and on the brow of the prince among his brothers. A long time coming. What do I mean by that? Well, it was a long time coming for Joseph. For when he was a cocky, arrogant daddy's boy of 17 years of age, and had these grandiose dreams, two of them right back to back, that he was going to be the ruler of his brothers. He was going to be the patriarchal head. He was going to be the ruler over his brothers. You know, he envisioned them like sheaves bowing down to him. He envisioned them as stars bowing down to him. And he was ridiculed not only by his brothers, but even scolded by his father about these dreams, these grandiose dreams. And so we see that these dreams were eventually fulfilled when the brothers went down to buy grain, and they bowed down to him. So they bowed down to him in order to get grain. So there was the prophecy of the dream of the sheaves bowing down being fulfilled. And then his father came, and his whole family came and bowed down to him in order to survive out the rest of the famine. When he revealed himself to his brothers, that was the fulfillment of that second dream. But here, it's as if Jacob wraps up and puts a seal on these dreams by saying they have been fulfilled when he says that these blessings will be on the head of Joseph and on the brow of the prince among his brothers. He's declaring in some way that those dreams that you had as a 17-year-old is now fulfilled in your 30-something, in your 40-something. They have come to full fruition, and it took that long for those prophetic dreams to come to pass. But I, as your father, am blessing you, and basically I'm reaffirming that those dreams were from God and that they have been fulfilled, and I've pronounced that fulfillment. Because he while he was in Egypt, while he was alive, he was the ruler and the prince over his brothers, over his family. And so whenever God gives you a dream or gives you a prophecy, you may wait pretty much a lifetime before it becomes fulfilled. But don't give up on what God has promised to give you. And sometimes what God has promised to give you, he's promised to give to you in that of your descendants, in that of your lineage. Because face it, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob never fully realized or fully lived in the promised land proper. It was generations down the road before Joshua and the children of Israel conquered the promised land. And even still today, that prophecy and that promise of God still hasn't been fulfilled, because right now, Israel only owns a slab of land the size of New Jersey, and those are not the dimensions that God promised Abraham. So God will make good on his word, and God will make good on his promises. And when God has prophesied something over you or promised something to you, just be patient and wait for it. It'll be a long time coming, but it'll come. God promised a redeemer since Genesis 3:15. He promised a redeemer, but yet, thousands of years all the way to Matthew, that was like 4,000 and some years before that prophecy was fulfilled. And then even prior to that, all the prophets, Isaiah and Jeremiah and Ezekiel, promised and prophesied of a Messiah hundreds of years before it happened, but it happened. And now we're waiting on the promise of his return to be fulfilled. And Peter said, you know what? People are going to ridicule us. They're going to say, where's the promise of his coming? Things are going on just as they always have been. But you know what? We are in the last day, and we are just on the edge of his coming, upon his second coming, upon his return. We can be confident that will be fulfilled, that prophecy, that promise will be fulfilled. So we still have promises and prophecies that we're waiting on. But in your life personally, when God has promised something to you, be patient and wait for it, because God will surely, fulfill His word. Guys, thanks so much for listening. Go out there and have a great day. Shalom and God bless.